Really looking forward to our next conversations with a man called Neelan Naidoo, who was incarcerated at Drakenstein Correctional Services facility just outside of Paul, the old Victor Verster prison. But this is where he actually discovered that he has a gift. He has the ability to see the world differently, and through the connection of his brain and his hand has been able to produce absolutely brilliant artwork. So from being incarcerated, being behind bars, a convicted criminal, to now being offered space in galleries around Cape Town, Neelan Naidoo is a very, very special story, and he's in studio with us along with some of his artwork. Neelan, thanks so much for joining us. You reminded me that we have in fact met before, and I apologize. It's not because our meeting was not of any worth. I have a torrid memory. I was also working at the time, so I was in work mode, but we met around about 2017 at Drakenstein prison.
That's right.
It was the launch of what is known as the Mandela Rules, in the responsibility that government and the Department of Correctional Services has in the treatment of prisoners. It is known as the Mandela Rules. And you were sitting in the table right next to us. We struck up a bit of a conversation.
Yes, we did.
But you were already, at that time, being noted, still behind bars. You reminded me that you were wearing orange at the time.
Yeah.
And already then you were being noted and honored for your artwork. I think the president was there, or was it, I think Jacob Zuma was the president then, was it?
I think so.
There was some high level.
Robert Lamola was there.
Yes.
And all the top dogs were there.
So let's start our conversation of how do you end up at Drakenstein?
I was sentenced to 17 years in 2011 at Westville Prison in Durban. I got a transfer in 2013 to Drakenstein Maximum, where I spent about 4 years and got my medium there. Then I got transferred to the medium section, medium A. I think it was end of 2015,
If
16.
I may ask, what were you convicted for?
I was convicted for murder. Yeah.
What were the
Murder.
circumstances?
The circumstances was, it was basically a friend of mine raped my girlfriend, and I lost it that night. I was intoxicated, alcohol, and I lost my temper, and I took his life, which I'm very, very, I took a father away, a son, husband, and I forgave myself for that, and it still plays in my head a bit, and I'm trying to, every day, I do my best to give back a little bit.
At the time of your trial, your conviction and your sentence, do you feel, while taking a life is definitely not warranted, but at the time, in terms of the mitigation argument of your actions, what was your thoughts at the time?
My thoughts, I pleaded guilty. I confessed to everything. I just pray to God that, I'll do my time. I'm guilty. Just don't let me get a 25 years to life. And I think my prayer was answered, you know. I got less than 25, where I did 10, and I'm on parole at the moment. I got 5.5 more to go. And yeah, I just it was hectic.
I want to talk about the experience, in a while. But we hardly talk about correctional services as places of second chances. We hardly even, we don't know of correctional services as places where people even discover themselves a talent, a gift, something that they did not know that they can do. We often talk about correctional services as the university of crime. People go there to learn about crime, and they usually end up there because of issues around poverty. Poverty criminalizes people. They go to South African prisons and they essentially get trained to be better criminals.
Hardened
criminals. So how did you discover that, looking at a 17-year sentence, when we talk about rebirth, how do you discover, well, there's actually something else to Neelan that I didn't know existed, and that is art?
I thought my life was, that's it for me, you know. I'm going to do the whole 17 years in the beginning. I wasn't educated on of being in prison, you know. I thought 17 years is 17 years. By the time I get out, I'll be 54 years old. And it stuck with me for quite some time, you know, until I got transferred to medium A. It was room B4 that they placed me at. And when I walked into that room, I met a guy, an old gentleman. His name is Joseph Bass, my mentor and best friend, and self-taught artist. He had a easel up there, and on that easel he was busy with the painting of a little girl with with a graduation garment, motor cap, and the diploma. And I was amazed, man. I just looked at this painting and I thought to myself, wow, I also want to do this. And he was standing there, and he looked at me and he asked me, how would you find it? And he's a number. And I said, yeah, I like it. And I want to learn, man. I want to learn this, because I used to focus basically just draw greeting cards and Valentine cards, birthday cards. I had the pens, I had the equipment for that, the material for that. So he asked me, do you really, really, really want to learn? Do you want to commit yourself to art? So I said, yes. So he gave me a pencil the next morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and a piece of paper, and he told me to draw something. And it looked like cat scratch, you know. From that day, from 6 in the morning till 10 in the night, till the lights go off, and then he'll take me to the toilet, the bathroom toilet area, and that light stays on the whole 24/7, and You'd be etching. Sketching, charcoal. Pencil, I got rid of the pencil. I started using the charcoal, and it wasn't even 2 months. I could draw. I could do a charcoal sketch of whoever. Like,
did you have any artistic skill or artistic interest in your life before you were convicted?
No.
Picked up the pen and a piece of paper before then?
No. It was just in prison because I had the time, you know, with greeting cards, you know. That's just like writing names and fancy handwriting, fonts and things like that, but never a face with you know,
With any form of
light
detail.
and dark and detail and emotion. You know, most of my emotion went into my drawings, and that's where I felt this is where I want to be.
I would ask, well, I would wonder, art and our presentation of art usually draws on some form of inspiration.
Yeah.
I've not spent time in prison. I visited prisons. I know what a cell looks like, and whether it be a communal cell or whether it be a single or shared cell, I kind of know what it looks like. And the bars don't, the windows and through the bars don't necessarily look out into pastoral landscapes or anything pretty. All you see is maybe another wall across the
Another wall,
courtyard.
yes.
So what inspires you when you inside for I don't know how many hours a day before you get a break to go out? What do you think about then to inspire you
What?
to draw? What do you draw?
In the cell that I was in, we were 30, and 30 different personalities, you know, and it was, I wanted to just draw anybody, any face, and learn from their emotions, you know, what their thoughts are. Even mine, my inspiration was mainly my mom, because I only had her at that time. I lost my brother and father a few years back, and I wanted to make my mom proud. You know, that's what inspired me. Joseph Beuys was a great inspiration to me. Monica Kruger.
Monica Kruger is the more formalized part of your training in 2016.
Yes.
Workshops started at Drakenstein. They brought in Marika to inmates who were interested. By that time, you had already started.
By that time, I already started, and it was a class of 15, and actually 14. I was the 15th guy. My first day in class, when I met Marika, Joseph Beuys introduced me and he said, "This is Neelan. This is my student, and I think we've got something here." And then she assessed me. She looked at my drawings, and Mr. Bertie Fourie, he was in charge of ASRAC sports and recreation, and then he also looked at my drawings, and he said, "Okay, let's give him a try. Let's give him a chance." And you know, in prison there's a lot of jealousy, especially when you just walk into a class and.
Is there? I would think in prison there's a lot of my perception, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my perception is that there is a common struggle, a common understanding. This is all where we are. This is all what we have to go through for the period of our own individual sentences. So when you say, "Oh, there's lots of jealousy in prison," I think, really, is there?
There is. If you've got like too much of talent, it could be in the sheet metal workshop or the woodwork shop, textile. If you've got too much of talent, there's always somebody that's gonna want to bomb you. That's what they call it. And
Why?
because they call it smuggling. Smuggle. I think you're smuggling because you got great artwork or a great jewelry box, and somebody wants to buy it, you know, and or maybe a warden wants to buy it, and they don't want that because they want to be there. They want to be selling this, and it wasn't about selling any of my work while I was there. It was about just producing, you know. And the more I produced, the more better I got, and the more, you know, the guys just thought to themselves, you know what, I'll have a look here, but Joseph Base is not going to teach them. And neither is Neelan going to teach them unless they're going to, you know.
Neelan, I was actually speaking to someone this very, very morning about institutionalization. And this person said he had a friend who was released on parole. He had about 5 months left for the rest of his sentence. He did a month in parole, and then he actually said, I want to go back for the last 4 months. The difficulty in readjusting to life on the outside. Talk to me about that, about people who have been put in a system become institutionalized in a system, that it's actually more difficult to live on the outside than on the inside, and reflect that with how you saw you and your art.
I got released on the 25th of March, 2020, a day before lockdown.
Wow.
From lockup to lockdown. And I had all these plans and, you know, to market my work, and produce work, and get married to the woman I love, and I was seeing at that time, who was visiting me and supporting me. And when I got out, it was like everything just had to stop. I couldn't think about it anymore. You know, it was hectic. And the things that I was taught in prison, like taught in prison, that getting up early in the mornings, the activities, the way my people couldn't understand, you know.
Where did you live? Because you're on parole currently, still on parole,
Yes, I'm still on parole.
still effectively serving a
Serving.
17-year sentence. You're
Yeah.
currently on parole. Part of parole conditions is that you have a fixed address, that you can show that you are at least trying to look for a job. It's very difficult if someone is on parole or has a record, and especially in this particular economic climate. What do you do, and especially after being released a day before lockdown?
There wasn't much I could do. I was under house arrest, you know, 23 hours again, or on a Monday get a couple of hours to go look for work, 3 or 4 hours to look for work. Where do you look for? I mean, it's within 3 or 4 hours, you know.
I say this as a joke, but was it as any consolation that all of us were on house arrest?
Yeah.
Taking but no, that's very tongue in cheek and a joke. So you trying to find work, but in lockdown as a parolee,
It was
impossible.
Impossible. Nobody wanted to, you know, jeopardize their business by employing a parolee. You know, it was risky for them, and it is still now. I've had 2 jobs. I'm a butcher by trade. I've worked in a butcher in Gurud, Bravo meat markets, and everything was going well, you know. But when they found out I was a parolee, I had to resign.
Wow.
You know? And
What is your current situation, particularly when it comes to a fixed address, a fixed place to call home, place where you can rebuild on life. What is your current situation?
My current situation is that I'm living at the Rainbow House at the moment.
So effectively, it's technically homeless.
Homeless, yeah. Homeless, and I had a double bypass heart attack
Wow.
in April. I collect a disability grant now, which is temporary for the next 6 months. It's difficult for me to go out there and find work. You know, I get tired really quickly. At the Rainbow House, we've only got till January, and then I have to find further accommodation, which I don't know how that's going to happen. That's why I'm in Difune
Ukwazi.
They're marketing my work on Instagram. Back a Buddy, I think Back a Buddy as well, to raise funds for the future. You know.
Neelan, I want to turn to some of the art now. You spoke about meeting Joseph Bass, becomes your mentor and your teacher in prison, meeting Marika Kriya, who is part of the workshop that then got introduced into correctional services at Drakenstein. But let's talk a little bit about your work. We spoke a lot about inspiration, what you actually put on paper or canvas, and that in prison there's not much to look at besides the faces of other inmates. And that I see forms a lot of your work. It's the faces, the emotions, the grief, the anxiety of inmates that you then draw and etch. Take us through some of your work. Maybe you can hold it up. Our cameras will pick it up, and this will be available on our Facebook page a little later. What you have in front of you now
is a self-portrait of myself when I just got out of prison. The healthy Neelan. I was much myself.
Nice chubby, cherub-cheeked.
Yeah.
Neelan.
And the brickwork behind it, you know, in lockdown. It's like all my other. When I was inside, it was only the background was my building blocks, foundation. So this was a lot to do with this self-portrait, had a lot to do with starting another foundation now,
so that is essentially Neelan the day before lockdown for COVID is the day that you were released. That is Neelan.
This is Neelan Naidoo in this picture.
There's some hope in those eyes. Definitely weariness of the time already spent behind bars, but I see some hope in those eyes.
There's always hope. I never lost that sense of no hope, you know. But there's always hope, and yeah.
What else do you have there for us?
I've got. A liner cut, self-portrait, deep thinker. This was done in prison. You know, I always, when Marika used to look at me in class, she always used to tell me, you think things through very deep. And when we started this project, the liner cut project, I just wanted to, you know, be the thinker. And yeah.
You spoke earlier of how the act that took place, the crime that takes place, was an act of impulse. It was an act of rage. You explained the circumstances. You took another person's life based on. Is that a result of that impulsive action? of thinking, internalizing, considering?
Yes, it is, definitely. Always, you know. I could have done it. It could have happened differently, you know. I could have walked away, you know, and things could have happened.
At the same time,
It was,
Neelan, you stated in your testimony in court the reasons why, and that was
Yeah.
because someone that you loved was raped.
Was raped.
It's very, very difficult to remain rational
yeah.
when receiving that type of news. How would you could have responded? Again, we reiterate that violence and murder solves nothing. But if you sit back and you step back and you are the thinker, how should you have handled that
I should have.
moment differently?
I should have just taken, you know, a 5-second thought, you know. Taken a step back and listened to just
By what act?
not act in impulse.
By what act did you end your friend's life?
How did I? It was with the knife. The rage was too much. You know, I had no time. There was no time to think. But if I had, I don't think there would be another chance. But I should have just taken one step back and walked away, gone to the police, reported him, and things would have been different. But
Neelan, some of your artwork is absolutely beautiful. The next piece that you're going to show to our cameras that I will see in studio and our listeners can see later. It looks like someone wrapped in a blanket.
in a prison sheet.
In a prison sheet.
Yeah. I had an identity crisis. You know, in prison, I've got more wrapped prints. I always wondered when I get released what people would think of me, you know. Embarrassed to be seen, even walking through a mall. Until today, I get this feeling that people look at me.
Have you ever been? You're from Durban. Durban.
Yes, I was born in Durban.
Have you ever been back? Have you been back?
No, I haven't been back.
Do you intend going back?
Maybe one day when my parole is done. I've got family there, so.
When last have you seen your mom?
My mom. I was in prison 2018 when she passed away.
Oh.
And through art, being a model prisoner, I was allowed to attend the wedding. The funeral. And yeah, that was a great privilege, you know. It was given to me.
You're clearly not proud of your actions.
I'm not proud of it.
But are you proud of the person that you are now?
Yes, I am.
And there's plenty of obstacles still in your way, Neelan, but are you proud of the person that you are now?
I am. I am proud of myself now, of what I've become, my achievements. I'm really, really proud, yes. Yeah.
And your achievements are quite clear in where you are now galleried. You galleried at the Mock Gallery, the Breitenbach Gallery. How important was that moment for you to have a curator or someone who owns a gallery saying, I like this work, I like this so much that I want to put it up in our gallery and set a price to it, and I want people to buy this, I want people to own this, I want people to say that we own a Neelan Naidoo?
the first exhibition we had was a virtual exhibition when we got out of prison. A couple of my pieces were sold. Some went overseas. But when I walked into that gallery a month or two later, and saw my work hanging on the wall, the tears just automatically started running down. I didn't think that I could achieve something like that. It was an awesome feeling, and the comments, the people, my family were so proud of me, my cousins, my friends. It was amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Despite that, you're still homeless. You're still unemployed.
Yes.
You're living off a disability grant because you're still recovering from a double bypass. And you're still a convicted inmate on parole in the South African criminal justice system. There's a lot.
And still on 23-hour house arrest.
Gosh, I hope I've not taken that hour away from you, Neelan.
Actually, this is my work. I'm supposed to look for work in this time.
Marketing is part of work. There's a lot that doesn't seem to be going for you at the moment, particularly not having a fixed place to stay, particularly still feeling the guilt and remorse that you feel, and of course, I would want to add maybe feeling a little bit alone. You've lost your mom, your dad, your brother. You live in a city which you don't necessarily have roots in.
Yeah.
How do you stay positive?
By creating more art, by the house that I'm living in, the residence. I teach. I've got students there that are willing and committed to learning how to etch. That's how I get by. I go out every day. It's tough every day. I get a meal at a soup kitchen at night, breakfast in the morning. I'm diabetic, so I have to, keep my diet. It's just challenging, but I get through. I get through day by day. It's that's.
I see that you also want to return. You want to return something back. So some of the proceeds that you make from your cell actually goes back to the shelter.
It's not actually a shelter. It's our house. It's a temporary home. I want to give back. I want to support the house with whatever I make. I give off to them because I don't like to see people going hungry.
How do people get in touch with you? In terms of,
I don't know, a phone, a call. I don't have an internet phone or a WhatsApp phone, so my phone number, my contact number is 083 466 5932.
5932. Neelan Naidoo, you're an absolute inspiration. Thank you so much, and thank you for reminding me that has been our first meeting. I can be forgiven seeing the picture, the self-portrait of 2018 looks very different to who you are now after a lot that has happened in terms of the double bypass and of course life being a little bit hard. But I really appreciate your contribution to our society through your story, but also through your work. Really appreciate it. Neelan, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time.
The Morning Review with Lester Kiewit.
Only on Cape Talk.